rated T to M. Hey, want to hear a PC Game Pass ad? I'll take your silence as a yes. Want new games on day one like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 or Stalker 2? I thought so. How about unlocking all the League of Legends champions when you link your Riot Games account? All for one low monthly price? Well, guess what? We got you. Learn more at xbox.com/PC Game Pass or click the banner. Stalker 2 available November 20th, 2024. Game catalog varies by region and over time. And that's the end of the script.
The sound of praise for your Sunday morning.
The only one who could ever teach me.
Introducing Reverend A.R. Bernard of the Christian Cultural Center.
Was the son of a preacher man.
And Rabbi Joseph Potasnik of Religion on the Line.
The only one who could ever teach me.
Now, on Talk Radio 77 WABC, here's the Rev and the Rabbi, where faith matters.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Rev, I guess when you're ready to wait in those long lines at airports and other places, you really love your family. That's a test of your love for family that you really, want to go through that.
It's been quite a week. I forget how many tens of thousands of flights actually were active this week, this past week.
So I was away. I just came back from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. I was in Abu Dhabi and some time in Dubai. And tragically, there was a rabbi who wasn't part of our group. There were faith leaders from around the world. There was a rabbi, as many people read, who was kidnapped and murdered in Dubai.
He's Orthodox, right? I think
Orthodoxy, Chabad guy, from Lubavitch. Okay. And he was doing God's work. He was there to help people. He was overseeing a kosher supermarket. If a traveler needed a kosher meal, he made sure that traveler had the meal. If someone needed the phylacteries, the tefillin, he made sure that person had it. He was then the mitzvah man, always there to help people when they needed something. And UAE is a safe place. It's always been known as a safe place. You have the Abrahamic houses there where you have a mosque, a church, a synagogue contiguous to one another. I was there. And matter of fact, I offered a prayer for Monsignor Delendick, who was taken from us a year ago, and we had his anniversary of death. And I just wonder if it happens in UAE and we see the anti-Semitism, the hatred around the world, the question becomes, so where is it safe? Where is it safe? If you're visibly Jewish, you really face some major challenges on your life. We have to really see where we are. What are we going to do? And thankfully, the government apprehended suspects and very strong, I think, case against them. But it's scary.
Foundational to our Christian social ethic is the life and dignity of the human person. That we are all created in God's image. We are flawed, we're broken, human beings, but we still carry the image of God, the spiritual and moral image of God. And it's important because that's where it begins. If we're not there, right, then we'll have the kind of things that we see happening around us, like individuals being targeted because of their faith, because of their identity, and on and on and on. So I think that we have to restore that humans matter. I always point to the story of Cain. Cain murdered his brother Abel, and he's now banned from the presence of God, and he realizes that his life is now in danger. So he's worried about someone doing to him what he did to his brother Abel. And God's response, I think, was important because it affirmed the life and dignity of the human person. Even though he was guilty of murder, God put a mark on him to protect him, that no one would, treat him the way he treated others. That says a lot.
Sadly, today, there are those who judge you by what you look like. They see you, they see a person of color. They see me, they see a person who's a Jew. And all of a sudden, their behavior is predicated on what they see. They don't see the child of God, right? They see, some external look which offends them. And I think we certainly have more to do. And so do parents. I mean, where does this begin? We teach our kids, love your neighbor doesn't just mean the person next door. It means person anywhere that you come across. That's your neighbor. So I think we have to do more, but it's shameful when you have to ask, where am I safe? And by the way, people of different traditions ask that question as well.
It's true. It's true. Well, it speaks to our educational system because at one time, Rabbi, character was part of the curriculum. Yeah. And all of a sudden that changed because, it was related too close to morality and religion. Yeah. And they wanted it out, the secularization of our educational system.
We used to be invited into schools.
That's right.
To talk to the students.
You're a clergy person.
Yeah, and now, oh my God, you can't do that because, God forbid, they're going to, somehow proselytize when none of that ever happened.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think the Department of Education needs to be overhauled in many ways.
I think you're going to see that with Linda McMahon. I think you're going to
think so.
She knows how to turn things upside down.
All right, we'll see what happens.
All right,
we got a guest. Our first guest, of course, is from Tunnel to Towers.
Frank Siller.
Frank Siller. So stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on 77 WABC. We'll be right back.
Where faith matters. The Rev and the Rabbi. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Tasman.
And I'm Rev.
Rev, we all have heroes in our lives. One of the heroes in my life over the years has become Frank Siller, who's the chairman and CEO of the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. And I think everyone at this point should know or does know what T2T does. Mr. Siller, thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. At this time of the year, we all have a lot to be thankful for. Just being with my family on Thanksgiving, past Thanksgiving, meant everything in the world for me. And, my life is good, but a lot of people out there that are suffering and need help. And that's what the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is trying to do every single day. But first and foremost, we have to thank our Creator for the life that we have here in America. That is for sure.
So many people thankful for all you do. Talk about Tunnel to Towers for those who may not know the full extent of it, what you do.
Yeah, well, it's simple. It wasn't so simple when we started. We didn't have any great aspirations, to be quite frank with you. We just wanted to honor my brother Stephen, who was a firefighter who gave his life on 9/11, left behind a wife and 5 children. And when we heard he ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel with his fire gear on his back to get there that day to where he was saving people, but yet gave up his life. As a youngest of 7 kids, we just wanted to honor our youngest brother and to make sure that what he did was never forgotten. And for that fact, so many others, what they did that day. And so we have very simple aspirations, but pure, which was never to forget and honor the sacrifice. And as time went on, we've found out that the best way to honor is by doing good in his name. And we started doing all this work where we take care of catastrophically injured service members, those who die in the line of duty, Gold Star families, or fallen first responder families that leave behind young families. We pay off their mortgages, and now we made a promise to eradicate homelessness amongst our veterans. So that's what we've been doing for a long time, and we're proud of the work we're doing. And now we're in our season of hope, which I know that we're going to be talking about, which is we're delivering 40 houses from Thanksgiving. We already did several houses already to Christmas Day, and to let everybody know that there is hope out there for these families. And in this time of giving and being thankful, that we can't forget about these families that have given so much for us.
Frank, your brother Stephen, I mean, wife and 5 children. I mean, this goes back, 2 decades. How are they doing, and how have they responded to the reality of losing a husband, a dad, and the work that you're doing in his honor?
Well, it's incredible. All 5 kids are doing very well. It's so beautiful to see. My heart breaks still because their dad, is not there with them physically. Spiritually, he's with them every single day. But they're all doing fantastic. One is just becoming a veterinarian, graduating soon. And one's a nurse. Someone's in law enforcement. someone's studying. His son is studying to be an attorney, and the other one's going to law enforcement himself, young Stephen. And it's remarkable. And young Stephen is this coming Thursday night at the Patriot Awards. He's handing out the Stephen Siller Patriot Award to Stephanie Diller, who lost her husband, a police officer, this past summer out in Massapequa. Yeah. And so she's receiving the Stephen Siller Patriot Award from Fox News, and my nephew Stephen is handing it to him, Stephen Jr. Wow. So it's incredible, the journey that we've been on, and to see these kids come out the other side. You know, Stephen's wife, Sally, has done a magnificent job, and the proof is in the results and how loving and special these kids are.
Frank, you know, you talk about how you've treated those who have suffered great losses in their lives, but we have, as a country, we have mistreated veterans. I don't understand what the disconnect was for many years. Why would we be so disrespectful of those who were ready to sacrifice everything for us?
Well, obviously that started during the Vietnam War, where we were in a good position here in our country. Most people were against that war, but the men and women who served just went to do their duty. Right. They didn't deserve what they received when they came back. It was the most disgusting thing that I ever witnessed in my life. And I was of that age. I was probably one of the last lotteries that was drawn. And my number was very high, and I was never called upon. But to see that, it was disgusting. So I could tell you this: it is not like that in America anymore. Most people do respect our men and women who serve our country. Now, a lot of people don't respect our men and women who are law enforcement, that wear the blue uniform. Sad to say, there are people around the country that frown on them like they did. They frowned on our warriors that were out there during the Vietnam War, which is disgusting. We're trying to change that around for sure, because we need these great local heroes to go out and protect our neighborhoods, to give us our quality of life that we have here in America. If you don't have safety in your streets, you don't have a quality of life. And, America the beautiful has to stay beautiful, and it starts with security and safety and the sacrifice that so many people made for us. But Tunnel to Towers, regardless how some people might look at different people who serve, we're going to make sure that we take care of these families. God forbid they die in the line of duty and leave young families behind, or they are catastrophically injured and, give up their bodies for their country or their community. We're going to deliver them mortgage-free smart homes, and that's why we're doing 40 homes, from, Thanksgiving to Christmas, to let people know that the promise is alive and well, and we're going to keep on delivering on our promise.
Frank, thanks for reflecting on that period. I grew up at that time, and in those days, you really didn't have a choice. It was the draft that was in place, and I remember they used to send us a token, so you had no excuse but to get on the train and go to your nearest, draft center. And I lost two dear friends, and the whole community came out for the funeral and everything who died in Vietnam. And it was really tough on guys who came home. Some of them were traumatized, and to have a public, because of however you felt about the military industrial complex, but these were individuals who were there, with their lives on the line. It was a tough situation.
I remember my family, every year Memorial Day would take me, and I'm an only child, and they were Holocaust survivors who had lost children during that period. They would go to the cemetery and put stones on all of the monuments that had those flags. And I said to my dad, "You didn't know these people." He said, "We may not have known them, but they knew about us." And I was taught at, that age, you have reverence for those who served, because if without their dedication, many other members of the family wouldn't have been here. So I think people need to think
we don't
carefully.
Have a country. We don't have a country unless we have people willing to serve. We live in such a beautiful country, and I feel the energy in America again. I feel so proud. I feel this energy everywhere I go. There's a new optimism. There's hope. And I just pray for the best for our country. But let me tell you something. No matter what we're going through, we have to come together as Americans to take care of those who sacrifice and take care of us. And all too often, they give up their lives when they give their kids a kiss goodbye, and they don't come home. You know, it happens all too often, and that's a promise that the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is making. And not just for now. I want everybody to understand. We know there's always going to be first responders, police officers, firefighters, you know, FBI, CIA, Border Patrol. These guys, men and women, they're always going to be giving their lives for us.
Right.
So the promise has to be just not for today, but forever. And we know the people wear our uniform to protect our country. You know, whether it's in training accidents now, because, you know, we're still all over the world and being prepared. But, you know, there's another, something's going to happen where we lose many. And we got to be there. Tunnel to Towers Foundation wants to be there for these families, once again, that leave young families behind, those who pay the ultimate sacrifice. So the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has to be here forever. And we are building it that way. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm in my early 70s. My family, a lot of my siblings were all in the 70s. And, you know, but we're leaving a legacy where we're going to make sure this foundation stays forever. I'm not that smart, but I'm smart enough to know that the foundation, we make a commitment, and it has my brother's image and my brother's name attached to it. We are going to hold this foundation to the highest standards of any foundation in America. And when we make a promise, we deliver. When we say we're going to do something, we deliver. When we say we're going to give out over 200 houses a year, mortgage-free houses, let it be for catastrophically injured or for Gold Star families or fallen first responders, we're going to do it. And we're going to make sure that we take care of the homeless. We're not going to leave them behind. Our military didn't leave them behind on the battlefield. Why can we leave them behind here in America on the streets? It's disgusting. Yeah. We're not going to let that happen. Over 10,000 homeless veterans over the last 2 years we have taken off the streets, put them into their own homes, put a roof over their head, and get them all the services they need to stay off the streets. And we're going to commit that promise forever.
You know, Frank, I travel, extensively overseas, but across the country, and meet so many different people in the work that I do. And it is a pleasure to hear people say when they see someone wearing a uniform or someone getting on the plane first because, they're military, yes, and stopping and saying, thank you for your service. Mm-hmm. I make sure I do that and the people around me, but it's great to hear, those statements made in appreciation. I like the fact that you guys are expanding. I mean, you talk about homeless. You have, the foundation operates Let Us Do Good Village. I think in Land O'Lakes, Florida, is it? 100 home area. Yes. Tell us about that.
Well, that's a village we opened up for about 100. Could be smart homes or Gold Star family homes or fallen first responder family homes. It's a community where other people could be around each other that have gone through terrible loss in their life. And you can imagine being around each other and helping each other. It's a really beautiful story. But we're also doing that for veterans. We're building veteran villages all over America, 15 of them, as a matter of fact, as we speak. We either delivered some or broken in the midst of being built or just broken ground on or in the design stage in all big cities across America. And we're planning on buying a lot more next year as well. And we build these beautiful villages that give them back some of their dignity and independence and some hope. We put some hope back in their lives. So I agree. We have to say thank you to our service members, a simple thank you to whether you wear, blue uniform or firefighter or wear our country's uniform. You should say thank you. But how about we take it a step further and we do good with that thank you and we take care of them. We take care of them in a way that is dignified to do it. And that's why, and I don't mean to always talk about, resources, but if I don't have the resources, we can't do this work. So if people are listening, go to T2T.org, the number 2T.org, and do $11 a month. I don't think that's asking too much. Yes, I have Home Depot, I have GNC, I have American Express, I have T-Mobile, and some great big companies that help us. But we are a grassroots foundation, and we count on the $11 a month. As you know, the fire department says many hands makes light work. Many Americans come together and donate $11 a month. I can continue keeping this promise that I made.
I appreciate the passion that you have, because post 9/11, a lot of organizations sprung up and then disappeared. It was an immediate reaction. But you're talking about longevity. You're talking about generations. And it's so great to hear the kind of passion that you're putting into this.
Commissioner Sal Casano, whom we all know, serves on the board of T2T. And here's someone who served the country when he was in Vietnam, someone who served the city when he was in the fire department, and he held every rank in the fire department. And I know when he puts his name on something like your foundation, it's like the kosher label. This is kosher. This is 100%. This is where I want to be. And he and I talk about you quite often. There are so many people that need that reach. How do you decide? How do you prioritize if you have to do that?
Well, it is hard because there is so many of them. Like, for instance, I said we're going to deliver over 200 mortgage-free homes this year. That's a big number, but I could do 400. I can do 500. There's how many people out there that are in need. Like, I'm building right now 60 smart homes for catastrophic danger service members and first responders. Well, I got another 150 right behind them that need a home, that need a smart home, not just a home built with all the smart technology in it for the injuries that they have. And so it's a big commitment. So how do we find them? Or how do we keep up with them? Find them is not hard. There's so many out there. Keep up with them is we count on the goodness of America to join us on our mission. And so many people have.
Frank, I'd like to draw attention to the efficiency of the organization. I was very impressed to know that the program service ratio is 95%. I mean, that's 95 cents out of each dollar actually goes for the individual that you're trying to reach. Too often, a major portion goes to administrative costs. Speak to that. How are you accomplishing that? That's impressive.
Well, it is impressive, and that's how we structured it from day one. My siblings and I, we all volunteered our services, and, we do have a lot of program expense because you can imagine what we're doing. Sure. We're building these houses all over America. We're building these veteran villages all over America. Each one is about $15 million plus to build these beautiful places to give them back some hope and take them off the street. And like I said, over 10,000 in the last 2 years, and we pay off these mortgages. So it is expensive endeavor, but once again, it bears my brother's image and name, and we're always going to hold it to the highest standard. So it's not that difficult to do if you stay true to who you are. And the truth be told, we have so many generous donors that, are willing to join us on this. And will our numbers come down sometimes? Yeah. This year, I think it's 93%. Our average over the last 3 years. Sometimes it's 95.1, which I was for quite a few years. And believe it or not, I'm not going to get into the weeds on anything. Some of it's because when we buy these hotels and renovate them, it doesn't count as an expense, program expense, because it's because we own the hotel forever, and it goes down as an asset, so it lowers on a percentage, a point, or a quarter of a point.
Yeah, but he's talking about a quarter of a point. You know how many organizations wish they were in the 90s period?
Yeah, you get one of the highest ratings amongst all of the different charities and foundations.
Well, we get 100% rating in transparency. We're 4-star rated for the umpteen years. We do have the highest rating that you could possibly have for a non-for-profit. Yeah. And you are right. We are so proud of it.
You have a program that deals with service people returning from war who've been, injured in some way, and it's your Smart Home program. Talk a little bit about that, please.
Well, actually, that really is what expanded the foundation. In 2009, the first quadruple amputee to ever survive any war was from Staten Island, Sergeant Brendan Morocco. Quadruple. I want your listeners to understand, quadruple, lost all 4 limbs.
Wow.
Above 2 arms above his elbows and both legs above their knees. So somehow or another, he survived because the technology changed on the battlefield. With the medical, these guys are great heroes. The corpsmen that go out there and save their brothers and sisters on the battlefield is remarkable. So I went down to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and because I heard he was from Staten Island. That's my hometown, just in case you didn't hear my accent. And while I was down there, I said to Brendan, Brendan, can Tunnel to Towers Foundation, can we build you a home? And you talk about miracles. There's so many miracles that have happened at Tunnel to Towers Foundation, but this is one that is just really set us on the right track. He finally humbly accepted. He ended up coming back to Staten Island. He didn't know where he was going to live, and we tell him we'd build it anywhere he wanted. But, a lot of times they want to stay around the hospitals because they have 100 surgeries, a lot of these guys, at least. And so he ended up coming back to Staten Island. We're building him a house, and we had this gentleman, John Ponte, who was showing up, several times a week and telling me to put in all this technology in the house. And he owned a smart home technology business. He would, put all this stuff where you can, off an iPad, lower the shades or the temperature, change the temperature or the lighting in there. Could you imagine being in your bed, you're a quadruple amputee and it's cold, you want to change the temperature. Mm-hmm. You have to put your body together. Some of these guys take half hour, an hour to put their body together to get out of bed. But he's got the phone right by his side. He could change the temperature in the house. So we put all this technology in stoves that can lower down where they can make something, oatmeal on the stove themselves. They don't have to ask somebody to help them. Go in the bathroom and take a shower, the state-of-the-art showers that we put in these houses. So this guy, John Ponte, was coming to me and telling me I should put this and that and that. And I said, all right, you are now our project manager on this house. And he really stepped up, and now he's in charge of building all these houses all over America. He sold his business. He came to work with me. I think it was for $50,000 a year. He sold his business. And for $50,000 a year, he went all around America. I think it cost him more money to work for me than it was for him to just not work, period.
Yeah. Frank, I'm gonna quote something.
God sends me these people. That's all I'm saying to you is that God sends me these people. And this is how we get it done. But these smart homes are built for these great heroes and their injuries.
That's a perfect point and opportunity for me to insert something that Jesus said that we didn't borrow from the Hebrew Scriptures. He said, if you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. And you are living your faith, you're practicing your faith, reaching out to the most vulnerable in our society to help make a difference. Thank you for what you do, Frank, really.
And if I could just add to that, Frank, I want to disagree with something you said before. You said you're not smart. You are very smart. You're very smart in taking something from its incipient stage and developing it to what it is today. And I think one day when you're reunited with your brother, he's going to say to you, Frank, you could not have done more. You have perpetuated a legacy that is remarkable. And it's interesting because in Hebrew, the word for legacy comes from the word river, Nahal, because a legacy is ongoing. It doesn't end when a person's life comes to an end. So you have made sure that legacy will be there from generation to generation. Thank you, Frank Siller.
Thank you all very much. God bless, and
God bless,
have a happy
and we
holiday,
hope,
Merry Christmas.
Same to you, my friend, to you and your family. And stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on 77 WABC. We'll be right back.
Reverend A.R. Bernard, Rabbi Joseph Potasnik, the Rev and the Rabbi. Talk Radio 77 WABC and the all-new WABCRadio.com.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard.
Reverend, we have someone on the phone who says she knows you quite well, says she's a member of your family and has great love for you, Annette Bernard. And I've been together with the two of you, and to see the relationship as special as is, which you have in all of the family. It's not just with one person. says much about you, but she occupies a special place in the CCC, Christian Cultural Center family, because of the work she does.
Yeah, she is actually the director of all of our community services, our food services, our outreach program. She is very full-time, and it takes a lot of effort on her part, just keeping up with the demands and building the relationships, the grant writing for organizations. We're feeding close to over 120,000 people a year, and supplying food for smaller pantries and other organizations. So I'm glad to have her on the program with us. Annette, welcome to the Rev and The Rabbi.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So, on-site and distribution, how does it work at CCC? Do people come there also to receive, and you also provide to others?
Annette, it's all yours. You're going to make your dad proud.
I'm definitely going to try. But yes, we do have on-site. We take care of the community. Anybody that comes in and says that they need, we come in and we take care of them. And these days, we're trying to work smarter, not harder, and kind of partnering up with other organizations around the city and trying to help them solve their food insecurities in their neighborhoods, and teaching their community people how to rely on resources closer to them, but more importantly than that, to empower them to do for themselves and their families so this doesn't become a generational thing. Mm-hmm. We want to be able to feed people who are in need, yes, always, and I love that we're able to do that. But our bigger call, I believe, is to teach people how to rely not on the services that are available, but to use those as leverages, as stepping stones, so that they can take care of their families and that their children can see that. And it's not something we pass down from generation to generation. We don't want to do that.
Let me ask you and Annette. People use the phrase food insecurity.
Right.
And it's just painful to hear that in our country that has so much, there are those who have so little.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have food insecurity is not exactly a good commentary as to who we are as a country. How is it? How is that possible when so much is given to so many others in other countries that we don't prioritize those who are here?
And Annette, I'm going to let you answer first, and then I'll chime in.
Okay, so yes, right. I agree with that, but I don't want to put it all on the system, right? I think that we as people need to take responsibility for what we do ourselves. And so when we set priorities that are not in line with making sure that family eats first or that a mortgage is paid first, and you want to be flashy or you don't want to budget yourself the right way, that plays a big role into why things are the way that they are for particular families. But yeah, we will as a country, as I'll speak of just, New York or the section of New York that we're in, there are several services for people that are coming out of that are not citizens of this country, and they seem to get them faster. I can't speak to why that is, but I know that to handle it on our end, what we can control is making sure that we utilize the services appropriately from what we're given. Betty, anything you want to add to that?
Well, you're making me proud. You're talking like a conservative, which I am, and it seems to have been passed on to my family because, I mean, we have to be careful. We don't want to blame the victims. We don't want to blame the poor, but at the same time, we don't want to put all the blame on the system. It takes both. It takes systemic changes to address these issues within our society, but we also have to point to personal responsibility and changing what people do and how they conduct themselves, the choices that they make. So you brought a beautiful balance, and you make me proud. Now, let's reflect on that, because at one point we were feeding about 25,000 people. Then COVID came, and all of a sudden those numbers exploded, especially in partnership with LDS. Just talk a little bit about that partnership and how it shifted to so many more people being fed.
Yeah, so we have a fantastic partnership with LDS, and that allowed us to not only service who we were already servicing, But I'm never in favor of quantity. I'm in favor of quality. So it empowered us, CCC, to be able to service the family at large. So that means that if a family was coming in and they had a family of 7, we were able to service them for whatever days we said that we were going to service them for the entire family of 7. Nobody had to go hungry. If a family of 2, we were able to fully service them for the family of 2. Also, looking at those resources and being really very strategic on how we allocated these monies or these food items, it enabled us to take in more families to do just that. And there's where we started the partnerships with either the schools. We have several schools under our belt that we were able to help them start their own food pantries so that it would lessen the line that we had, so that we were able to do the quality that we were looking to do. And that partnership has really stretched us to really, and I would venture to say, without looking at the numbers right now, that 120,000 mark is really more like 150,000.
Wow.
You know, I'm glad to hear that you talked about assumption of responsibility, because it's very easy to point fingers all over. And I think all of us have to look and say, what more can we do? And what you pointed out is that the food pantry is not the end of the line. It's also an opportunity now to say to people, what are you going to do so you don't have to come back to a food pantry?
Right.
What are you going to do for your family? And people have to look within. So it's all of us looking and saying we could do more. The Rev and I were at a distribution of turkeys this past week. And there are a number of people, they're elderly, I would say for the most part, who were waiting to receive one turkey. Yeah. And it was very, very touching because it's if you were giving them such a generous gift, and you were giving them one turkey, which was nice, but you wonder what else is missing in their lives, because these are people in pain. And we have to do whatever we can so we can say, you know, we've done our share. We fulfilled our others have to assume responsibility. So do we. Yeah.
And it was inspired, if I may say, by John Katzmatidis and Marco, who are owners of our radio station here, who just have an incredible heart to help people. And in collaboration with Catholic Charities, FDNY, NYPD, and several other organizations. And I think that's reflective of what it's going to take to address these issues.
I agree. I agree. It's a collaboration of several organizations of coming together. I want to comment on something, if I may, where Rev, you just said a little while ago about the seniors who are on our pantry lines. I like to point out that's true, right? We do also have a lot of seniors that are on our line, and there are several reasons why they're on there, right? But if you talk to the bulk of seniors, medication is so high. They can't afford to feed their families or feed themselves and take care of their medication. And I am so proud to say that at Christian Cultural Center's Food Pantry, we really focus on giving quality food so that seniors can lower their can higher their health benefits by eating healthier. And that's a really important aspect of the way that we serve. We're not just going to be serving, sugary things or Kool-Aids or things that are not healthy. You know, we're going to be really going after fresh fruits and vegetables all year long to give to our seniors, and then recipes so that the senior can learn, if this is a foreign fruit or vegetable to them, how they can learn to incorporate this into their diet. And the goal there is to make their prescriptions much lower, to get those blood pressures lower, to get those diabetes numbers lower, so that they don't have to depend so much on the pharmaceutical system, so that they can live healthier, longer lives.
Wow.
You know, let me ask you a question that the Rev very often asks guests. Talk about the role of faith. Obviously, here you are in the Bernard family. And faith is very, very important. It's, work done by the Christian Cultural Center. Talk about your own faith, your own path and faith.
So I'd have to say that certainly without my family, but without my faith, I would not be here today in the state of mind that I am in today. Life is life for everyone, right? And I'm passionate about I'm really very passionate about the work that I do because I myself was on that side of the pantry line. And so I know personally firsthand what it felt like to be treated as if I was not a human, with no dignity, with no respect. And so, my lifelong work has been to treat others the way I was not treated, and so that they would never have to go through something like that. So I'm very passionate about the way that I treat people and the way that I serve people. And then as I grew in my faith, I saw that, I can't do life without God. I can't do anything without having my faith at the center, because I would have broken a long time ago. And then my latest heart tragedy, when my husband passed away, there was no way that I could have ever picked myself back up and kind of just went through what I went through and remain sane or able to help someone else in the same situation without my faith. Yeah. So it has really been the core of my existence. The deeper I walk this relationship and the deeper I get into my relationship with Christ, the better I see things, the better I can handle things, the better life ultimately that I have. And I could not do it. I could not have done anything without my faith.
Annette, thank you so much. Just great. Rabbi, you have a wrap-up question?
Yeah, over the years, Annette, I become an honorary member of the Bernard family. I don't know if they wanted me, but somehow I become a member. And to see how all of you do so much for so many people is really to me, is such a manifestation of who you are as a proud Christian. And that is something that I hope brings you fulfillment. And also, talking about your personal story, interestingly, in Jewish tradition, the Talmud, which is the explanation of the Torah, starts on page 2. There's no page 1. And I've often felt that maybe there's a message there that sometimes you have to learn how to begin on page 2. Page 1 is taken from you. And you're one who certainly is an example of beginning again. When you were born, you began life. But Annette, you also taught us you have to learn how to begin again sometimes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen.
Annette, you made your dad proud.
I'm so happy.
You can come home tonight.
Thank you.
I love you, dear. Have a great evening.
I love you too, Daddy.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for more of the Rev and the Rabbi right here on 77 WABC.
Where faith matters. The Rev and the Rabbi. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Welcome back. I'm Rabbi Joseph Potasnik.
And I'm Reverend A.R. Bernard. Rabbi, we need to talk about the term, and it comes up from time to time. I learned it from you, Tikkun Olam. The responsibility that we all have to repair the world, to make the world a better place than we left it. And this is the season, Thanksgiving, Christmas. These are the times where we kick in. It's a wonderful conversation we had with my daughter-in-law. She made me look good, of course. So thank you for that. But it's who we are as human beings and our responsibility to be our brother's keeper, responsible for our neighbor.
Listening to Frank Siller of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, listening to your daughter-in-law, Annette Bernard, I just thought to myself, we can't finish everything, but it's no excuse not to begin something. Matter of fact, that's a Hebrew lesson. Just because you can't complete it doesn't mean you can't start it. And you look at Frank Siller, there are so many people that need help, and he may not be able to reach all those people, but that doesn't deter him from helping as many as he can now. Your daughter, she sees so much pain out there, but again, she says, I'm going to do what I can while I can.
Yeah.
And hopefully others will continue after me. And that's something that I think when we do some good work, Frank, reminded us we have to make sure that it continues.
Yeah.
It can't just be what we call one and done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think two guests who really understand the meaning of continuity.
It's just talking to Frank and how creativity kicks in, because you start out meeting one need and all of a sudden you realize, hey, we could do this, we can do that. There's another need over here. And it's associated with where you started, and things continue to expand. So what's true for the Tunnel to Towers is true for our food pantry operations. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but we're actually working on creating a supermarket so that people who need food can actually come in, and it'll be aisles with food set up on the shelves. There'll be a specific card with a point system where, per family, depending upon the size of the family, you come in, and we distribute it with dignity. Right now we have people on the lines, the weather, it's out in the cold. So to have a supermarket where they can come in, we're excited about that, and we want to do it in the East New York area.
You and I have been out to Salt Lake City, and when you walk into the supermarket there, everybody has a card.
And that's where I was inspired.
Right.
That's exactly where I was inspired.
Everybody has a card.
We were there in Salt Lake.
You don't know who's paying and who's not paying.
That's right.
Who's, getting it because they need it and can't afford it, and who can afford it. Everybody has the same outward appearance. And yet there are those who are coming there because they desperately need the food, and they're treated the same way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson for us. Don't look down upon those who have less.
Yeah.
They're also human beings.
Yeah. And that's the dignity, because I will tell you, she didn't get into this, but a little background history. When she met my son, she already had 2 children. And, my son took those 2 young girls as his own, and we brought them into the family. So when she talked about the time that she was dealing with food stamps and all these other programs, she was on that line herself. So to see her now converted into addressing the needs of people who are where she was, she's one of my heroes. I'm so proud of her.
She also got 2 role models who, really, really were great inspirations for her in how to treat others, and she was fortunate. She was blessed, really, to come into your family too, because there are others out there, who are still in pain and don't get that kind of reception. It's these are great stories. That's why when people think of Thanksgiving, it's not just the day to sit down and have food, right? It's a day to say thank you. And all of our traditions, are replete with references to Thanksgiving, to giving thanks to God, giving thanks for one another. And that's why it pains me when I read the stories now that say, don't talk about politics at the table because it's going to rupture the relationship. Let's recognize, no matter what you talk about, there's a bigger picture there. That if you disagree on politics, okay, so you disagree. That should destroy what you built as a family. We can't allow those divisions to be the story. The story is the family. We're coming together. Relish the moment, because, you often say there's an expiration date on everything. That's right. Even on people.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So to waste your time in these disagreements that destroy relationships is sinful.
Jesus said something. He said, give and it shall be given. It's a verse in the Gospel of Luke. It says, give and it shall be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, good measure shall men give into your bosom. But the whole idea of give so and it shall be given, it's a cycle. We give and it comes back. And I think the word thank you completes that cycle. Because when we don't have it, it's like it's open-ended. Something didn't complete it here. We didn't give it the amen. You know what I mean? So thanks and an attitude of gratitude is critical to the cycle of giving that God uses to provide for each.
We have a similar thought that give and others will give to you as well. That it's contagious when you start giving. And also what Frank and your daughter receive is the psychic income that you get from doing these good deeds. There's no amount of money you can place on that value, but you feel you've done something when you've helped someone. I was in a store the other day, and someone came over to me, and he looked like he was needy. He said, "I'm really hungry." So I said, "What would you like to eat?" He said, "I'd like a sandwich here." I said, "All right, let's order the sandwich." And again, it was not just giving him the money and then you wonder, what is he going to do? But it was feeding him. And for him, I don't know the last time he had, any substantive meal, but there are people who are desperately hurting, and we have to do more. We have to help. But I like what she said about assumption of responsibility, because sometimes we overlook that. We don't want to blame people, but sometimes there are those who do deserve blame. We look at kids that go astray, and God forbid we ask, well, what about the parents? Where are they in all of this? They also play a role. We have to look there too.
Yeah. And it's amazing because we didn't get a chance to talk, but her children actually work in these pantries, some full-time, some part-time, but as a family unit, all right, they're fully committed to this. And my son, when he was alive, as well. So it's amazing how it becomes generational. And our grandchildren are oriented, our children, of course, but our grandchildren are oriented to give. So they will come and say, hey, so-and-so has a need. It was a flood. What can we do? Do we have anything that we can respond to that need? So the whole family is oriented in that way.
So let me ask you something. From what I can tell, you're surrounded by some very strong women in your household. Rev,
maybe
there's an inner strength. There's an inner strength. You're allowed to respond, by the way. They're allowed,
That's because I married one. So they're getting it right from the top. My wife is a strong-willed woman, and, she has passed that on. And my sons have married strong-willed women, as well, interestingly enough. And they feel more like my daughters, our daughters, than our daughter-in-law.
Yeah, I've never heard you use the word in-law, by the way.
We use the word daughter.
Yeah.
And that's how they feel about it.
Yeah. Well, it's been a very, very meaningful conversation today. I walk away and I say, there are some great people out there doing great work, and they need to be recognized and respected. And I'm glad we gave them some attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Gave them a platform. And thank you, our listeners, for those of you who understand the importance of this conversation and your responsibility to give back, to do something. When you see a need that you can fulfill, do everything you can. I think we all have that responsibility. And thank you for tuning in to another incredible episode of the Rev
and the Rabbi.
And the Rabbi. Till next time. Be well, be safe. God bless.
Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better. With services close to all New York and New Jersey cemeteries, Eden Memorial Chapels offer fair and balanced pricing and can provide easy transfer of you and your loved ones to Israel. While you're grieving, they're here to take care of all the details so that you deal with less bureaucracy and have more peace of mind. Go to EdenMemorial.com. That's EdenMemorial.com.